Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Friday Live, the final Friday Live for 2025. Can you believe we are literally a handful of days away from Christmas, for those of you who celebrate Christmas, and from the end of the year? So this is the last live I will be doing. I'm going to have a nice break after this, and the next live will be a month from now, which I think will be the 19th of January, actually. So, because it's summer here in Australia, so it's many people take a break in January for some much needed R&R. So I will be seeing you guys in a month from today for the next Friday Live, or the first Friday Live of 2025. So if you do have a question that you would like me to answer, or there's something that you would like me to talk about, now is the time. Don't hold back. Let me know what's on your mind, and if there's anything that you are needing some support around, right? So just pop it in the comments below, and I will do my absolute best to handle that or support you with that the best way that I can. And as always, if you are listening to me live, feel free to say hi and let me know where you're listening from. So I've been doing, the first thing I want to talk about today is I was reflecting on what my intention was at the start of this year. So I always set an intention. It's a broad intention. I don't like to keep it too narrow, because when we narrow things down, we can kind of miss opportunities that are around us, because we can get a little bit of tunnel vision. And I'm not saying tunnel vision is a bad thing. It depends on what you're striving for. But for me, I like to keep things as broad as possible, because I want to be as open to wisdom. I want to be as open to insights. I want to be as open to fresh thinking as I possibly can. So I set an intention at the start of the year. My intention was all about my heart, like my heart space, opening my heart, living more from my heart, and playing around with that. That was my intention at the start of the year. I did a certification in heart healing as a result of that. Add just another string to add to my bow, which has been a wonderful thing. And I've got a new program starting next year where I'll be talking about that a little more. But I was reflecting back. Hey, Donna, thanks for saying hi, darling. Appreciate it. Thank you. Lovely, lovely. So I was thinking about that my intention of living more from my heart, being in my heart space, and how that has unfolded over the year. And as a result of thinking about that, one of the things that popped into my mind was, when you start thinking about how your heart radiates energy, the heart has the most magnetic energy of any organ in the body. It's extraordinary. The magnetic energy of a human heart can be felt kilometers away, right? And we have this power. We do, and we don't utilize or tap into it anywhere near enough, because we're not taught this stuff. We're not taught about how it works, why it matters, and what you are capable of creating in your life, because your heart is just as magnetic as anybody else's. This is the gift of our humanity. This is the gift that we are all given. And, it's not that there's anything that can take that away from you other than your own belief and your own lack of awareness, right? So as I've had a lot more awareness of my heart, what it's radiating, I've really noticed a few things I've learned this year, and I wanted to share them with you, because I think it's this important stuff for everybody to know and understand about their own heart. One of the things that I really noticed as I was just setting an intention of being in my heart space more, that's really what it was. And I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't have a how around it. I don't worry about the how. I just know when I set an intention, the universe will meet me where I am and give me what I need around that. So it's not like I had to work on it. It was just more about being about my level of awareness of it, right? And so I guess one of the first things I noticed was how quickly I can put a wall around it, and how quickly I can let go of a wall. How quickly I can feel like there's something blocking it, and how quickly I can let go of that. I found that fascinating, and I'm very aware now of when I've got an energetic wall, so to speak, and when I've put it down. Now, why do you think this might matter? Like, some of you might be going, oh, okay, yep, you can tell that. And the reason I wanted to share that with you is, if you don't have awareness around something like this, then you can wonder why you keep hitting the same roadblocks. And it might be in the way that you connect with others. It might be in trying to have a conversation. It might be you wanting to let go of something that's happened in the past. It's so much harder to do that when you've got a wall or a block around your heart, right? When your heart is closed off, when you've kind of shut off. When I talked about the magnetic energy, the magnetic energetic frequency of our heart, we can inadvertently and innocently close it off. And that's what I've really learned about myself and noticed about myself this year. I've had moments where I'm like, man, that thing is radiating out. I feel like you could feel it kilometers away. And I've even played with pushing that energy out there. And I play with it by, and I was talking about this on one of my relatable calls not long ago, I think. I look at pushing it out there and seeing what happens. And I've had some extraordinary thing happen. A number of extraordinary things happen as a result of me playing with that and pushing it out there. Like, for example, I've had people turn around and say hello to me when I've pushed it out. I've had people smile and their faces light up when I've pushed it out. I've had people stop and have a conversation, like out of nowhere. And these are just complete strangers. I've noticed when I do it around my daughter's horses or our pets, just how they react. Like, it's something that I've just played with all year. And so I wanted to talk about it a little bit, because the other thing that I've learned is what happens when I'm deeply moved by something, And your capacity to be deeply moved by something is 100% your responsibility. And I know there are a lot of difficult things going on in the world right now. Like, we've had this horrific shooting in Bondi last Sunday, and, we're still here in Australia, and I know around the world, reeling in shock from that. And I don't want to go into the ins and outs of the politics around that. I don't believe that's what I'm here for. So it's not that I'm ignoring it. I just don't. There are plenty of other people providing a voice around that, but I did want to acknowledge it. And I have felt very deeply moved by that, in a number of ways, the shock, horror, and pain of knowing that another human being could do that to another human being. And then the mind-blowing heroics of people who stepped in and saved lives, people who selflessly jumped in and helped others. I've been moved by that. And, as I've sat with that, and I know there's many, many other horrible things going on around the world. Okay, there are. And I've just picked one of many. So I'm not meaning to ignore others or say that one's more important than another or any of those things. It's just that as an Australian in Australia, that's on my doorstep, and it's horrific, absolutely horrific. And I've felt my heart hurt so much around that, and as many hearts are around the globe. And I guess I just wanted to speak to that for a moment, just even like I'm feeling very emotional as I talk about this right now. But I wanted to speak to it for a moment from a perspective of the impact on our heart, okay? Not from any other impact, and I know there are others. And I know the most powerful thing we can do right now, and I'm not saying that. I guess what am I trying to say? I guess what I'm saying is the most powerful thing we can do right now is feel into our hearts. Not ignore what's happened. Absolutely not. There's a lot of rage. There's a lot of grief. There's a lot of pain going on for people, and I don't want you to shut that down, ignore it. That's not what I'm saying at all. Feel it into your heart. I felt myself deeply moved by what's happened, and I felt myself deeply moved by many things. And I think our capacity to be deeply moved is an extraordinary thing that human beings have. And when we are deeply moved, it radiates out in the world. And we all have the same capacity to be deeply moved by something. Sometimes it can feel like it can feel hopeless and helpless, right? There can be a feeling of that, because there is just so much going on in the world that feels bigger than you, feels bigger than us, and it feels like we can't do anything about. That feels like, what's the point? And you can get caught up in all of that. But I do want to just say, your capacity to feel moved, your capacity to radiate out magnetic energy from your own heart space is always available to you, always available to you. And I just wanted to remind people of that, because I think right now we need it more than ever in the world. I know that this time of year can be really confronting for people, and confronting for a number of reasons. Perhaps you are facing your first Christmas or holiday season without someone that you love. Maybe you've lost someone that you love this year, and it's in your face that this is your first Christmas or holiday break without them. Maybe you are someone who wishes you were in a relationship and you're single at this time of year, and you're wishing you had that companion, that partner, that person that you could spend that time with. Maybe there are people who are not around loved ones because they're separated by distance and other things going on in the world. Maybe some of you are financially struggling, and it looks like there's something missing because of that. And what I mean by that is, you look at someone else's home who looks bigger, or someone who's got more gifts, or someone who seems to have a better family than you, and we can get caught up in all of that stuff, right? And I guess I just wanted to put it out there to all of you that no matter what's going on in the world for you, and there are different struggles that people are dealing with and facing, and if it's one thing I've learned from working with thousands of people now over a very long period of time, is everybody is dealing with something. We may not talk about it, we may not show it, it may not be obvious, but everybody is dealing with something. Everybody. This is part of the human condition. It's part of the experience of life. It's part of navigating the world. And it's part of what enables us to grow and expand and all of that stuff. But I just want you to know that whatever you're going through, if it looks like someone else has something better than you, or you're less than, or someone has more than you, please don't buy into that. Your worth is not based on what you have. Your worth is not based on whether you are single or have a partner. Your worth is not based on your body, your finances. Your worth is not based on how many presents are under your tree. Your worth is not based on whether you celebrate Christmas or not. It's not based on any of those things. We have this extraordinary essence inside all of us that's exactly the same. This whole hierarchy that we live in as human beings is an illusion. It's an illusion. It's not truth. It's not based on fact. It has nothing to do with anything. You are just as worthy and important as the person next to you, no matter the size of your home, no matter what you look like, no matter how much money is in your bank, no matter any of it. And your capacity to feel moved is exactly the same as the person next to you. Your capacity to radiate love into the world is exactly the same. Your capacity to feel is exactly the same. This is the shared experience of being human. And I think there is more to be gained by looking at our shared humanness than there ever will be by looking at our differences. Our differences don't matter. Our differences are irrelevant. They're just a distraction. They've got nothing to do with anything. And my couples all see this when we work together. They come to me and they think that the reason their relationship is struggling is because they've got a compatibility issue. That is not why your relationship is struggling. That's part of the illusion. That has got nothing to do with why your relationship is struggling, right? There's something else going on. And when you touch into that and you understand that, the compatibility, the issue that looked like it was a compatibility issue just falls away. It truly does. I'm blown away by how many times people get to see that for themselves in real life, in real time. Because who we are, our shared humanity, is undeniable. And when you look in the direction of that and you truly see it, all of our fears, our worries, our anxieties, our judgments, they start to fall away. Our minds quieten. And a human being with a quiet mind is a human being in a loving state of mind. Right? A human being with a quiet mind is a human being in a loving state of mind. When we're in a loving state of mind, and again, I think sometimes it can feel like when we talk about being in a loving state of mind, that means we just ignore everything terrible in the world. And that's not what I am implying at all. At all. For those of you who've just joined, I've been as devastated and horrified by what's happened in Bondi as anybody else. But what I want to talk about is our capacity to feel moved. What I want to talk about is our saneness. what I want to talk about is the fact that we are all equals. We are all equals. We have the same capacity for love. We have the same capacity to create a shift around with life and people around us because of the essence of who we are, because we have this incredible capacity to radiate love. The magnetic frequency of a human being's heart is something that we're still understanding. And I talk about this because my heart and being in my heart space more has been a massive part of this year. So I just wanted to start by talking about that and just sort of saying, if you are someone who is struggling right now, because it can be triggering for people this time of year, please, please, please know that you are not alone, that the essence of who you are, what you're capable of radiating out in the world cannot be diminished by those things, and that when we do tap into it, it's incredibly good for our human, it's incredibly good for our soul, and it's incredibly good for the people around us. We are all intrinsically connected and linked, whether we know it or not. And we are more the same than we are different. And so I just want you to know that I see you and I love you. Just like I talked about in the very first chapter of my book, for those of you who haven't read it, the very first chapter of my book was a letter of love from me to you. And that is still just as pertinent right now as it will ever be, because I truly mean that. All I want to do is push out as much love into the world as I can, is to let you see that you are love, is for you to remember who you truly are, because when we remember who we are, our insecurities fall away. When we remember who we are, we don't focus on the differences. When we remember who we are generous of heart, soul, mind, and spirit. And this is a time of year where we need more of that in the world. And we need it without agenda. So without expecting anything in return, without doing it trying to get something. It's that humility, grace, and capacity that we all have to put that out without needing, wanting, or expecting anything back. That's the spirit of this time of year. Whether you are someone who celebrates Christmas or not, whatever this time of year represents for you, that's a spirit that we can all tap into that goes beyond religion, culture, gender, race, education, finances. It goes beyond all of it. And that's the thing that I just wanted to remind you guys of as you move into this time of year, as you move into the new year. And often the new year is a time of fresh energy and letting go of the old, welcoming the new. For those of you who follow Chinese signs, this is the year of the snake, which is a year of endings, and we're moving into the year of the horse, which is a year of beginnings, of momentum, of change. So whatever you've been holding on to this year, let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. Do not bring that energy into the new year. I will be doing a lovely energetic reset with my Relatable students. We started doing that at the start of this year, and I'll be taking them through a process of doing that next year. So that we are letting go of the old and ushering in the new. So these are all the things that you are capable of as human beings. That has nothing to do with what's going on out there in the world for you, right? Your capacity to do that is not diminished or changed by anything that's going on around you, right? That's the stuff that I want you to remember. Okay, so now that I've said that, I'm here to answer any questions, and I think we might have, if you have sent me questions, I'm sorry, I think a couple of questions went missing recently due to the new platform that we're operating on. So if I have missed a question, please, and you've sent it in a few weeks ago, please send us an email and I will make sure it's the very first question that I answer when I'm back next year. But I'm just going to jump to a couple of the questions that have been sent through to me. And if you are listening, as always, please say hi, Let me know where you're listening from. Okay. Now, a question that was sent through to me this week was, where is it? All right. Hi, Fiona. How do you rebuild trust in a relationship? All right. How do you rebuild trust? That's a short way of saying it. After there's been betrayal or an affair or anything like that. Hi, Ian. Thanks for saying hi. How do you rebuild trust? That rebuilding trust in a relationship is certainly a journey. That's for sure. I think the first thing, if there has been any form of betrayal, like an affair, or maybe you found out that someone's, I recently had someone reach out to me who discovered that their partner was putting money away and gambling a lot of money that they just recently found out about. So betrayal can be in many forms. It doesn't just have to equal an affair. A betrayal can also come from people feeling not heard, and from people feeling like their emotions and feelings don't matter. So there's a number of ways in which betrayal shows up in a relationship. I think the very first thing is, there's one of the biggest problems human beings have is we work off assumptions, right? We are big assumers, and we don't realize when we are assuming something, right? We don't. And that's something I do a lot with my couples clients when I'm working with them, is helping them see the things that they are assuming, and then saying, okay, if we weren't assuming that, if we went beyond that assumption, what would be different? What kind of question would you ask? How would you communicate? What would you do? Right? Because often we work on an assumption we don't even see, and then wonder why we hit a roadblock with someone. And that's because the assumption is in the way. And human beings, like I said, are massive assumers, and they don't see it. So the first thing I would check in, right, if I'm rebuilding betrayal and I'm rebuilding trust, is I would make sure that if I was in a situation like that with someone, that the other person was just as committed to rebuilding trust as I was. Right? So if I've decided I want to rebuild trust after betrayal in a relationship, and for those of you who've just joined, I talked about there's different ways to experience betrayal. It's not just through an affair, although that's a very common one, but there are many ways to experience betrayal in a relationship. But if I had decided that I wanted to do that, I would first check that the other person was as committed to changing that as I was. And I think an assumption that often happens is we assume that the other person is just as on board as we are. And then we start moving forward and we wonder why it's feeling hard and difficult. So the very first thing I would check in is this person committed to doing what needs to be done to navigate a way forward to rebuild trust after betrayal, right? And I think for some of us, that is not as obvious as it looks. So I would be checking in on that for sure. And just because someone is saying they are committed doesn't mean that they are committed. Remember, actions speak louder than words. Actions speak louder than words. So if someone's actions are not in alignment with their words, then you need to believe them, right? Because a lot of people dismiss the actions and then say, oh, but they've been saying this. I'm like, okay, but if they're saying one thing and they're doing another, what they're doing is more of the truth rather than what they're saying. It's easy for someone to say something. What is more important, what can be more difficult are the actions that someone takes. So first thing, if I'm trying to rebuild trust after betrayal, is I'm going to make sure, is this something I really want? And is the other person just as committed to it as I am? Right? And if they're not as committed to it as you are, then I wouldn't be going any further until we've got that established, right? Because that's going to be your foundation point. Until we've got that established. That's the first step. Now, the second step after that is going to be your ability, right? Like if you're someone who has decided that you want to move forward in a relationship after betrayal, and you've established that both parties are committed to doing whatever it takes, then the next step is going to be your ability to not bring up the past every time you're triggered, right? Because every time you bring up the past or what's happened every time you're triggered, it just makes it, you guys tend to be stuck. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't talk about it. Like, there's a fine line between the two. Does that make sense? You need to know when you are in the right frame of mind and what makes sense to you as the person who's been betrayed. This is very important. And then you have to be able to navigate yourself enough to know when this has been talked about enough and it's time to now move forward. And when you decide to move forward, you've got to move forward and choose not to keep throwing that like an atomic bomb into the conversation, right? So there's the foundation of, are we both committed to doing whatever it takes? And if you are, then the next step is going to be, okay, what is there for me that I need to know or talk about or get clarity around? And then from there, it's like, okay, let's get clear on what we're creating together. And the person who's experienced the betrayal, right, and this is very important because often when I've worked with couples where there's been betrayal, the person who feels betrayed, every time they're stuck or they're thinking tanks, which happens to everybody constantly, they kind of feel that desire to throw a bomb into the works, and it kind of turns everything upside down. So, like I said, there's a fine line between those things, but they're the starting point. And obviously, when I'm working with a couple where there's been betrayal, I teach them the understanding that I work from, so that you're both able to navigate your own state of mind in a very different way. Which means, for say the person who's feeling betrayed, the other person is able to hold space and be present and allow them to express themselves, and to do so without getting defensive or shutting it down or justifying or explaining themselves, right? This is the person who's done the betraying, and this is the person who needs to express themselves. So both people need to be able to navigate their state of mind well. And this is a foundational aspect of what I teach, right? Is understanding and navigating state of mind, because we are not taught this. We are not taught this. And so people don't understand this. And so they lead a conversation or go into a situation when their state of mind is tanked and they don't have any emotional intelligence. And then it blows up and they wonder why. Or they have what I call their Homer Simpson moment, where they say something dumb, right, that they don't mean. And then their mind clears and they're like, oh, why did I say that, right? So understanding and navigating state of mind is crucial. But that's the place that I would start. And then from there, we could see what's possible. So I hope that answers that question for you. Let me know if what I'm saying resonates, makes sense. Would love some feedback from anybody. And yeah, anybody else who's tuned in, please feel free to say hi. Let me know where you're listening from. For those of you who've just tuned in, I was talking about my intention of being in my heart space for the year and being moved as human beings and other things. And I'm just now starting to answer questions. So if you've just joined us and you've got a question, pop it in the comments below. I was just talking about how to recover from, or how a relationship can recover from betrayal. How do you rebuild trust when there's been betrayal? So next question. Okay. All right, great question. Next question I've had today is, and I've actually had a few of these questions come in lately where people have sent me DMs. So sexual dysfunction can happen, obviously, in relationships. And I've had a couple of people email me in and say, I've just entered a new relationship. I struggle with sexual dysfunction at times, and I don't know how to talk about that. And how do I do that? What do I do? I think for anybody, and I think this is so common in people, is we seem to have this aversion to speaking to the elephant in the room. We kind of go into hide. We'll do everything but speak to that thing. And when we do that, our minds overthink. We go into analytical mind. We kind of go into logic and reason, and we're not in our heart space. If there's anything going on, whether you have an STD, whether you have sexual dysfunction, whatever's going on, people are going through all sorts of things. If you're with a partner and you feel that this is getting serious, right, and you feel that this is someone that you want to spend time with and you want to get to know them, the sooner you talk about something like this, the better. Because if you wait, right, and you wait until there's a strong connection and you haven't said anything, the chances of that person feeling betrayed by you, the chances of that reducing trust in the relationship are very, very high. You know, the fact of the matter is, the sooner you talk about something, the sooner you can then kind of work out where the relationship is going to go from that. Because, you know, if you're in a relationship with someone or you're starting out and it feels like it's going somewhere, then the longer you leave it, it becomes more like this bomb that's going to explode at any time. And the less present you become, the more insecure you feel, because there's this elephant in the room that you're stepping over all the time and communicating around and trying to be intimate around and all of those things. The sooner you have the conversation and you allow things to settle and see where you go from there, then the less damage you are going to do in terms of trust, in terms of that person feeling like they can rely on you, because these are all foundational things that need to be in place for that relationship to be successful. So whatever it is, honesty is the best way forward always. Now, if that means the relationship ends, then it's going to end, right? Well, that's just how it is. But you waiting until you've established more of a connection, that just makes it worse, right? So please don't ever be afraid to speak of the elephant in the room. Now, here's what's important though. Your capacity to speak about that from a grounded, calm, present space is very, very, very important, right? That is the key. It's not what you're talking about. It's the space you are talking about when you have that conversation. And this is the biggest blind spot of everyone I meet, everyone who comes to me. We are our own biggest blind spot. I know I've said this before, but we really are. Our inability to understand the space that we're coming from, our inability to see when we are being defensive and shut down, when we are not present, our inability to see that we are not listening. All of this is so important. And yet people don't understand it enough. If you're looking to feel more empowered in a relationship that's not going well, your capacity to see that is what will give you your power. If you want to be able to get over something quickly, your capacity to see this is where the answer to that lies. It doesn't lie in what the other person does or doesn't do. It lies in you understanding this. It lies in your awareness of this, because that's where choice comes from. And choice is the greatest gift out there. So if there's anything that you are avoiding, please, right, your ability to talk about it from a grounded, calm, clear space and to stay there, irrespective of what happens out here, is the everything. Now, if you're not sure about that, you don't know how to do that, it's everything that I teach and we talk about in my Relatable program. So please, come join our Relatable family. We have the most amazing conversations. We talk about this kind of stuff. You'll learn things that will help you navigate your state of mind so you can show up that way, so you can hold space, so that you can experience emotional freedom, even if you're in a really difficult situation or another person's having a meltdown in front of you. Like, this is what my students... this is what they discover about themselves, what blows them away time and time again. They say, I didn't know I was able to do that. I had no idea I was showing up this way. It's so amazing to show up so differently. I'm holding a different space. I'm generating a different feeling. Like, it is the most amazing feeling in the world to have that level of awareness and capacity to see that. I can't even tell you how much that means. Okay, and there's a comment here that I have to press this. Hey, Maz. Hi, darling. Hi, Fee. I hope the upcoming holiday season brings you warmth, joy, and rest. This year sees me in such a peaceful, happy place, and a lot of where I'm at is a reflection of your teaching through Relatable. Oh, thank you, darling. My outlook on life feels gentler and simpler now, less stress, more ease, and a deep sense of trust in life without expectations. Forever grateful. Oh, thank you, Maz. Thank you so much. That means the world to hear that, darling. It really, really does. I was just thinking about you and Graham the other day, and wondering how you guys are doing. I saw the photos from when we had that cafe chat catch up. They came up on my phone and went, oh, so lovely to see them. Thank you, darling. That means the world. So yeah, I hope that helps with that question. All right. So whatever you're dealing with. Hi, Jason. Thanks for saying hi. Hey, Melinda. You're welcome, darling. Always a pleasure to see you. Thanks for saying hi. And anyone else who wants to, I do love to hear where you guys are listening from and whether this is resonating and making sense. So, one thing I want to say is we can often come up towards the end of the year and you can find yourself spending time with people that maybe you don't really like, right? Maybe you're spending time with in-laws or other family members or relatives that you don't really like, or maybe you feel like you've got nothing in common with, or maybe you feel really triggered around, maybe you've got one of those relatives that has a few drinks and gets really loud and kind of, puts their foot in it, or, and you're looking at them going, oh, nothing changes with this person. I really would love you to be more playful with this, right? Be more playful with it. See what you can generate just because you're in a different energy. You don't have to get triggered by another person. You've got to understand you have more choice around this than you realize. So many of us look at life, we look at someone's behavior, and it feels like I can't help it because, right? And this is definitely a state of mind so many of my students enter Relatable being in the feeling of, being in the experience of, I can't help it because, Fiona, you don't know what I'm dealing with at home. It's because of this, right? And I get it. I really do, because as many of you know, I fled a domestic violent relationship many years ago. And for years, I felt very stuck in my animosity towards that person that I felt I could never get past. And it was only as I came across this understanding that I was able to see the choice that I had and the freedom that I had around it. And I was able to put it down, and it wasn't permeating my life and robbing me of my joy. And it's been the most freeing thing. And I've taken that knowing into any and every situation you can imagine, right? So this is what's available to you all. This is what I teach inside Relatable. All right. So if you really want to create change next year, come join us. All right. It is an amazing family, an amazing community, and you will have conversations inside Relatable that you just won't have anywhere else. And that's because we're all looking in this direction, and we're all experiencing fresh thinking, insights, feeling empowered, and we're also sharing the struggles as well, right? So, there's just so much support and so much on offer in that community. But if you are someone who's looking to feel emotional freedom, if you are someone who doesn't want to feel so triggered by external things, if you're someone who wants to generate a different experience in your relationships, I want you to see you have far more power around that than you can ever possibly realize, okay? And it's very freeing to see it. It doesn't feel like a burden. It feels like, oh, this is awesome. A bit like what Maz has experienced and what she shared here on the screen. So I just want to say a big thank you to you all. Thank you for your support over the years. Thank you for your comments and your ability to, show up, be on these streams, send me questions, send me messages. A big thank you to my beautiful Relatable family. I know many of you are on this stream today, so a big thank you and love to you, hugs to you. And just remember, the essence of who you are is the essence of who I am. We are all the same. You are love. I am love. And I know that you have just as much capacity to create change, to generate that feel that I was talking about earlier, to feel moved by life and to have a different experience around things as I am. So I wish that for you. I wish you a wonderful, safe holiday season. A Merry Christmas to those of you who celebrate Christmas, and lots and lots and lots of love to you all. When I do my next live next year, I'll talk to you about my intention for next year and the space that I'm going to hold for that. And yeah, thank you, everybody. I so appreciate you. If you want to join our amazing, wonderful, incredible, relatable family, I will put the link down there. It is never too late to do so. Start joining us now, learning this amazing understanding, and be there as we share the magic of those live calls next year and the process that I'm going to take everybody through to let go of the old and usher in the new. We'll be doing that as part of the Relatable Live calls next year. All right, the link's in the comments below. Thank you, everybody. Sending you so much love. Take care, everyone. Hey, Susan. Hi, darling. Lots of love to you all. Thank you so much, James. I really appreciate that. Appreciate you letting me know where you're listening from. All right, take care, everyone. Ciao. Good luck, Melinda. I'll be thinking of you. You got this, honey.